Okay, we are live. Good evening. I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. And I'm joined by my co-host, Miss Georgette Truen. Miss Truen, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good.
Very good. And our other co-host, Mr. Darren Guay. Darren, how are you this evening? Okay. Is it me that's frozen or is it Darren that's frozen?
It's Darren.
Okay. All right. And we have a special guest this evening, Miss Stacy, and I want to make sure I pronounce this right. Sonny Letter?
You do a good job, yes. Sound letter.
Okay. Sun Letter. Okay. How are you, Miss Stacy?
I'm doing okay.
So Stacy is a host of one of our shows, How to Fight CPS and Win, the New York edition. So she's on tonight because she wants to share a special story with us um, regarding a guest that was on her show not too long ago. So, Stacy, why don't you take it away and tell us what's going on there in New York?
Right. Miss G, I remember watching one of your shows with you and Vince, and you were saying that you don't like anything New York. And anything with York in it, you don't want to talk about it because it's that bad. And it's bad here. It's bad here. And
You remember. You remember.
I remembered, yep, I sure did. And I was like, boy, I wonder what her experience is to make her say that. And so then
I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later.
and then I'm doing these shows, and New York is really bad. And so I've never done podcasts before, and here I'm doing this, and so recently I did an interview with Catherine Kazanoff, who is a former federal prosecutor, reputable attorney, and she's caught up in the mess too. And she talked about how her daughter ran away from her ex-spouse, took a cab in Westchester County, and showed up at Catherine's door. And the daughter was disclosing abuse, and everyone sent the daughter back to the father. And Catherine's interview with me was May 16th. And this weekend, while I was at work, she sent a suicide letter to me and 34 other people. And I know that in her case, she suffered breast cancer twice, and on Mother's Day, they wouldn't even let her see her kids on Mother's Day when she was supposed to have access, but they went in and took it away from her. And then I guess the judge in her case even went further, and Swea Sponti, with just one line that's hard to appeal, I guess, took her kids away from her completely. And this was just before this letter circulated that she was going to kill herself. So New York is bad.
Was CPS involved?
CPS was involved in that runaway, and they sent the child to the father. They unfounded everything, and the attorney for children said, "So what about any abuse? It was a long time ago." But even though the girl was running away, saying that there was abuse now, and during her interview, we pulled out research on children who run away, the National Runaway Safe Line, the research that's out there why kids run away. Because in old movies they used to sensationalize running away and kind of made it look like it's a child with behavior problems, but in reality research shows that when children run away, it's because there's a problem in the house. Sometimes it might be an undisclosed pregnancy or LGBTQ issue, but most of the time when children run away from somewhere, it's actually because they're being abused and they're running away from the abuse. And certainly Catherine's daughter showed up at her door, and children don't run to abuse. So the CPS failed Catherine, where they could have helped and the child could have stayed with Catherine, but instead they sent the child back to the abuser. And the attorney for children also said, "So what? It happened. So abuse happened so long ago."
That doesn't surprise me. What was the allegation against her, Stacy?
I think they were just trying to say alienation.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. You know what's so sad? Her ex is the one that was alienating her. It wasn't the other way around. You
She
know what
didn't
I
even
mean?
have
Yeah,
she didn't even have Mother's Day.
I know. I know.
Do you
I know.
do, do
Likewise, dear.
you
Likewise.
she was on your show as a guest?
Yeah. Yes.
Did
Yeah.
she talk, did she talk about her story?
Yeah.
Was she any closer to getting her children before they took away all her visits?
Well, the successes she was having in her case were actually financial. The attorney for children got removed from the case because Catherine sued her, and I think the determination was that the attorney for children was basically committing misconduct, and Catherine got all of her fees disgorged. And there was another win that Catherine had, but they were financial, but they show that there were problems with the case. If the attorney for children gets removed, obviously there were problems. So you would think the momentum would be more and more access for Catherine, but instead they terminated her access altogether.
So she sued the attorney for the children in a separate lawsuit in another courthouse?
She did, yeah. She published she posted all these details on social media on her Facebook account,
Mhm.
so you can still go. It's still active. You can go to her Facebook page, and she actually, in her suicide letters, she put a what's it called, the docu Dropbox, right? She put a Dropbox of a lot of evidence that the courts weren't allowing her to admit.
Was she representing herself?
I don't believe so.
What's her link to her Facebook page? I'd like to look it up.
If you just look, yeah. Well, if you want me to hop over to it, and then I can send it to you, sure.
Did we lose Stacy?
No, she's using her phone, and she's gonna send you a link. So it does that. It does that. Here you go. Are you gonna send him a link from your phone, Stacy?
Yeah, I'm putting it in the chat.
Oh, in the chat. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. Because every time you do that, it blacks you out when
Oh,
you go in
Yeah.
you put
Sorry.
it in the
the chat.
you put
Yeah.
it in the private chat.
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm gonna copy
Go ahead.
it to the public chat in case anybody wants to check out her Facebook page.
Yep.
So there we go. It's been published. But no confirmation that she's deceased now.
Right. Yeah. It's a sensitive issue. One reporter wrote an article, and I don't, and his first line in the title is "She dead," and I just thought that was so abrasive.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's like a twisted, disgusting version of Monty Python. Is she dead yet? And or where's Waldo? That's not what this is. And but legitimately, some people are questioning, you know, um, for other purposes, but 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 she said when she sent out the letter that she was going to be deceased upon circulation of her letter. And as far as I'm aware, um, my other friends that were close contacts with her have not heard from her. And I know that about 40 minutes before the letter came out, she was talking to my other friend, and asking my other friend to take her animals. And then my other friend is one that circulated an email that she had passed. And That was on. I want to say it was on Saturday.
So she went to Switzerland. Apparently, it's legal for assisted suicide there. I mean, but do you have to have some type of like terminal medical condition, or they just do assist you
Right.
if you're just
I think,
depressed?
yeah. She did say she had fought breast cancer twice, and she said she had a new diagnosis that was a terminal condition.
Oh, mm. That's a very tough story.
Yeah.
Do you think had it not been for the CPS case that um, she'd still be with us, notwithstanding the terminal breast cancer diagnosis?
So, um, any step of the way, why did the dime pervasively fall through the cracks at every opportunity to help her child? And uh, I know Catherine. I've been with her around her personally, and she's a very um, conservative woman, not impulsive or irrational. She's pretty grounded, and um, so I think she would have definitely done whatever was best for her child first.
Do you think you'll ever get confirmation from someone in Switzerland?
I think with the things that are occurring, that um, confirmation will be sought. Because there's estate issues and some matters where it's going to be necessary.
Did you say that her ex-husband was a lawyer as well?
Yes, he is. He works with a very reputable firm in New York,
Where was her case? What county or city?
Westchester.
How far is that from you?
I'm probably going to be going to. There's going to be a memorial for her. I think June 5th. But that's just something you hop on a plane and it's an hour there.
So like a 2-hour drive, something like that?
No, it's actually it's an hour flight, but I think it's more like a 5 or 6 hour drive.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. It's a very sad situation.
Yeah. I
You know,
don't.
I it's very sad, but I have to say I'm not surprised, and I kind of wonder sometimes. I was surprised that it doesn't happen more.
Yeah.
You know,
It
there's
does
probably
happen, but sometimes we don't know about it.
we don't know about it.
Yeah, it does.
I know. I think it was Darren and I were talking last week about a show about drug use. If you have an issue with substances, when they take your children away, I mean, you're really going to go. You know, you're going to have an issue
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to have to drown the pain somehow of your children being lost.
Yep.
We
Yeah.
have
They just,
mothers who say they say they killed themselves or committed suicide, but later, the family comes out and say, we suspect the father. A lot of men don't want to pay child support. A lot of men. And what they do is they attack the mother personally using her kids. And that's how it works in a court system. And oftentimes we discuss this, you and I, where they favor the abuser.
is there a suicide number? Is there like an average? Is there some sort of a study or anything of like how many people that have been through the CPS system do commit suicide?
You know what? I don't know. Stacy, do you know?
No, I don't. This is a first for me, on a personal level.
That's a very good question, Darren.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
it would seem to be one of those things that occurs, and I don't think we're keeping track of it.
no. And if we're not even keeping track of it at the close family, what about the extended network that people aren't even keeping track of? A part of it. But I'm gonna look at that right now. Let me see what I can find here.
I
Because I
had
think
talked.
if we're not paying attention to that, that's something extremely, extremely important that needs to be like brought to the forefront, especially with all the mental health challenges that everybody has, that are being involved in these, not just the mental health issues that they have alone, but mental health is brought on by the stress and all of these things. I mean, this is all stuff nobody, they think they just go in, take your child, they leave, the parents move on with the rest of their life. They'll become drug addicts or drunks or become whatever, but no big deal. I mean, this thing has such a ricochet and ripple effect for time and time. Like, how many generations does it take to cure one family that is affected by CPS? Because you got the grandparents, the parents, then the children, the sisters, the brothers, the nieces, the nephews, the cousins. How long down the road does this go before a family is actually okay, because one child was removed from their family bloodlines. I mean, that's pretty crazy if you think about it, and no one even talks about this.
I had a guest lined up for today, and I had to quickly change because he called me crying, and he just, he's every time he talks about it, it's so painful for him.
No, it is. It's dreadful. I mean, I think any one of us that have been involved in the system, I mean, I know I am. I mean, there are things like right now, just talking about it, like I feel like I could just explode, like every one of these people that are involved in this are ticking time bombs. Because either they got to get up and be strong and, they got to fight for their loved ones, that are weak, and that can't handle this. So, they got to pick up that burden. They're face first in the fire all the time, it's just a constant stress. And I don't care who you are. There's no way that you can take any waking, parts of a day and not have to think about where your child is. That's yours, that you've lost to this awful, awful thing. I mean, it's just a nightmare every freaking day. But no one talks about this. And I don't want to say that the parents, poor parents, but dang, man, especially for parents that aren't doing things wrong. I mean, this is awful what's going on with this, and how they can get away with just repetitive torture over and over. And for nobody in America to stand up and say boo about it. I mean, we got people committing suicide, the kids are being trafficked, all of this stuff. Think how horrid this is. I mean, it's a Jesse Raphael commercial, for helping to save her thing in Africa. Except for this is right here in America. No one is talking about this. How many people? I mean, I bet you, what is it? 1 out of 27 people have some sort of contact with something in CPS. I think it's probably less than that. That's an astronomical number. That
Did you say 1 in 27?
I think it's something. That's what I read. Don't count me on that for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what I read. I'll tell you that. But it was 1 in 27. Every 27 people, one person has had some sort of a contact with CPS. I mean, and that's right. Let me go make sure. But like I said, don't quote me
That's a
on
lot.
that.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah,
I think the research I saw too is it's increasing more and more in terms of how many, the ratio.
right. I mean, they're going harder and
Worse.
harder. Yeah, as the more money comes out for these programs, I mean, like I know every state just saw some sort of an increase to their caseworkers and everything. Like I know up here did, and it was a drastic one that the caseworkers got for this, and the foster families of substance abuse families got themselves a little raise too, which that's fine and dandy. But the more and more money that keeps pouring into the system, the more and more we're going to. I mean, let's face it. There's only one way that they're getting more money, and that's to take more kids. I mean that's we're not going to see a decrease ever in this because there's probably use it or lose it mentality with their budget. Whoa, we're not going backwards. We need to make sure we still get 100,000 kids this month or whatever, because otherwise Joey and Louie aren't going to have a job anymore, and we're not going to have the lab facility down the street. I mean, that's, if you think their revenue depends on this, like, and then even think about the mental health of these people. Like, they're already screwed up to begin with because they're working for this place, but even more and more the detriment that they're putting onto our society. I mean, it's just the whole thing is just a mess and it shouldn't be around. You want to talk about cracking, humanity in the head and saying, go ahead and wake up every morning and smile. That's ridiculous. Like on Miss G's show and the prayer shows, sitting there praying for, the caseworkers and everything. And that, that's being real Christian. That's great. But think of like these people are just terrible people, and we're still people that are involved in it and fighting it, like Miss G and all. They're still like, hey guys, let's pray for these people. Let's have hope for these people, and they don't. It's just insanity. It really is. I don't know. Sorry about the rant, but man, I'm gonna get to look into some stats now.
Well, Miss G, do you have any other comments for Stacy and I guess what's happened to Catherine? Miss G, can you hear me? Nothing like being on mute, huh?
What happened?
I said, did you have any further comments or questions regarding Catherine for Stacy?
No.
Stacy, did you have any last comments you wanted to make or any questions you wanted to ask me?
The only thing is I just thought it'd be nice. I think we made a little clip from Catherine's interview. If you could play at the end of my interview with her, I asked her if there's anything that, any advice that she had for people in her type of situation, and she gave some words at the end there that I think would be nice to play for her.
Sure. Hey, Grace, are you there? Can you play that clip?
So if you have any advice after all your experiences to help people who are dealing with CPS and the courts, what's your number one advice that you've learned and wish you knew before you started?
It goes something like this. If you feel in your gut that something is off, really explore that. Don't assume that this system is working and everybody's got the best interest at heart and they're doing their jobs diligently. I was so let down by this system. I can't even
Hey,
tell
Grace,
you.
I can't hear anything.
It's like walking into a doctor's office.
It was playing for me.
It was playing. It was playing.
Oh, really? It wasn't playing for me. Nothing like technology, huh?
There's new computers.
It was just frozen. What did she say? Since I couldn't hear it, what did she say?
Well, basically, what she had said to everyone is if things, she actually said two things. I don't know what that clip was, but one was basically about signing consent agreements. Don't ever sign a consent agreement if you don't super agree with it because they're harder to undo. And the other thing that she said was if your intuition is telling you that something is wrong about your case, really look into it and follow your intuition.
But even when they look into it, Stacey, you and I both know, they make the mothers look like they're insane or they need psychiatric help or they have issues. It's like mothers are always attacked, and you and I know that damn well.
Damn
And
well.
there's nothing against dads. I mean, there's good
Yeah.
fathers out there, but not everybody can be a dad. Anybody can be a father, but a sperm can make you a father, but that doesn't mean anything. A father would never attack the mother of his children just because of child support. That's so ridiculous. That's that's not being a dad. That's just being an a-hole. That's what you are. And you know damn well, Stacy, what I mean by that. So
I've spoken with some very wonderful dads too that the system has affected. My interview today was a gentleman whose the mother died at birth, and he had successfully raised other children, and he broke up with a girl and didn't have a refrigerator or stove at home, so they put his son into a group home, and the son was sexually abused at the group home. They made everything worse instead of better.
yeah, again, the abuser, always the abuser. They will put them in a home of the abuser. They would put them in the family member of the abuser. I mean, it doesn't matter. They choose abuse. That's it. Now you guys understand why I call them demonic? Because only a demon wants that. Only a demon wants to hurt children. 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 They're innocent. There's no need for any of that. But the system is implementing it, and it keeps on implementing it until um, we all stand. Well, you guys don't understand that we pay their bills. You guys know that, right? We are their boss, but we don't act like their boss. We act like cowards. We act like we're scared. We act like, oh, we're little people. We can't do anything. Stand up. Stand up and speak out. And that's exactly what I am doing with Misty. Misty and a group of the girls on my show, Real Talk with Miss G and the gang, they're doing stuff in their state, and we're gonna make it happen. Finally, we're gonna make it happen. So I'm telling you, we gotta stand up. You
Yeah, we got a
understand,
thing
Stacey?
for
You get
July.
it? You gotta get people together. We got to be heard, honey. And don't be afraid. If you don't tell me, oh, I can't protest because we have a CPS case and I don't want them to retaliate against me. Misty and I heard that many times on the shows, Star also. And that's being, see, this is what they want you to do. They want you to fear them. Fear is not from God. I told you guys this a million times. Fear is not from God. God is not fear. You need to stand up. You need to be bold. I was going to say you need to have balls, but you know what I mean. But you need to be bold. You need to speak up. You need to stand up. If they see, okay, the reason they want us silent, because imagine if we all stand up, we're going to destroy them. They don't want that.
Ms. G, address Tiffany Ann Downs' comment.
Okay. She's just agreeing with me.
No, she's saying they do retaliate. And what do you do? They do. CPS retaliates when you speak out, when you protest.
Tiffany was an interview that I did.
Yeah, but Tiffany understands, yes, they do retaliate, but they want you to fear them. First of all, if you protest, you're literally fighting for your rights and your children's rights, right? Nobody else is doing it. So therefore, they want you silent. So they're going to attack you using your children, just like your ex is going to attack you using your children. So the system is narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopath. They're psycho. And it's the God honest truth. They're psycho. Because only a psycho would want to damage the children. Why? Because they don't want them to have power. And if they have power, if we have power, if we have control, guess what? We're going to overpower them. And they don't want that. They don't want the people to overpower them. So they're going to have to instill fear in you, right? Just like the devil. What does the devil first thing? Fear. Fear. Then what? Then you fear. Then what? When you fear, you're going to screw up. And that's all it is. When you fear, you screw up. You don't make right, rational decisions when you fear. Right? Stacey, you understand what I'm coming from.
Yes, and I've been very recently very retaliated on.
Yeah.
But it won't stop me. That's what they want. It won't stop me. But it's hard. It's hard,
I'm telling you, you should join me, Misty, Debbie, Star. We're making it happen finally. I needed a group of people that actually are they're gonna make it happen with me, not just talk about it and nothing happens.
Yeah,
So,
that's cool that you just said
really
that, because on July 3rd, Ms. G, on July 3rd, we already have a National Family Independence Day thing that's planned. And so far, we have speakers like Rick Martin, Dennis Ball, and Megan Fox that are going to come along. We're going to try to do an all day long event. And I don't know, maybe Mr. Davis, if you're interested, and we'll talk about it later, but you're the first attorney I've thought of. I'd like to get a bunch of CPS attorneys throughout the day to get on the station. Maybe even your station could represent it or something, something that's down the line. But we were looking at it like paralleling with 4th of July. maybe using a third as that, but have CPS lawyers all day long talking on, that station with these special guest people and getting America together to come that way, since, they're not going to go out and actually have barbecues and everything. That's what we've all been working on too. So, I mean, that's awesome. That's so good that you guys have something coming together like that.
Okay, thank
So-
you. So Stacy, again, let's join with Misty and me and Star. Let's maybe we can use your help. And also, just don't worry about retaliation, guys, because I've been retaliated against from social workers randomly calling me and randomly calling me and attacking me. So just hey, uh, but I don't care really, honestly. I don't care. And I spoke about it on my show, Stacy. Do you remember? I said, I told them what? BITCH, bring it on. You remember? I was literally on my show. I was like,
Yeah, I
bring it
remember.
on,
And I
bitch.
remember
Yeah.
you were describing someone how they were harassing you too, and that you caught on because they came on the show. Didn't they come on the show too? And you shut them off because
Yep.
you were onto
They
the
were,
fact that
yeah, they were pretending to be,
yep, a
victims.
victim.
Oh my God. That was the best show I've had actually. Because I was like, you're a social worker? And she didn't know what to say. She didn't know what to say. She's kind of like, how in the hell did she figure this out? But I can tell. I can tell. They're crazy.
They
They're
are
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, and they tried to tell me, don't do your show or else. And I'm like, well, what else what? What are you going to do? You think you're the mafia? Well, guess what? My father was the mafia. So I'm my dad was the godfather of the mafia. So go bring it on. And they don't like that, then they hang up. just like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Kind of like, whatever, I don't care. But yeah, don't fear these people. They're cowards. Remember, a coward bullies. Remember that. A coward bullies. So when a coward bullies, they want you to be weak. So they can take advantage of you. So if you show weakness, they're gonna show you who they are. If you show strength, they're going to cower away. They're going to be scared of you, of us.
I
Because
tell
we need an army in this. I'm sorry,
I,
Stacey, go ahead.
I tell people it's like meeting a bear in the woods because if you meet a bear in the woods, the bear is always bigger than you, and he knows it, and you know it. But
Mhm.
if you sit there and you play bunny rabbit and you sit still, you're going to get eaten. So you can't sit there and do nothing. If you run, he's going to outrun you and he's going to eat you. But
Oh,
what you're taught to do when you meet a bear in the woods is you start throwing rocks and you act bigger than you are and you growl at it. And still the bear knows he's bigger than you and you know the bear is bigger than you, but the bear knows that he can go somewhere else and have an easier meal.
uh-huh.
And
I
that's how
think
it is. You can't show fear. If you show fear to the bear, he's going to eat you.
absolutely. And maybe you can be part of the podcast. We're starting a station and it's going to be, yeah, we're starting a station and it's going to be worldwide. One of the girls is setting it up as we speak, and maybe you can be part of it.
That'd be nice. Yeah, because my show is New York State, and it's not just New York State. It's all over the U.S. and it is all over the globe.
It is. It is all over the world. It's actually becoming a pandemic now. It's all over the world, and
You
children
know,
are attacked.
you, you know what I wanted to tell you. I look at my the YouTube statistics. YouTube publishes a lot of analytics on every channel, and one of the analytics they post or they compute for you is the different countries where your show is watched, right? And at the beginning, when I started doing this, it was about 99% the viewers were from the United States. Currently, it's only, I think, about 79% or 78% from the United States. Other viewers are from other countries where they have CPS: Canada, the UK, New Zealand, Australia. So apparently, the CPS issue is something that's part of the Western world.
Hmm.
I do have a country, and I had a client who was here had a case up north, and she was from Pakistan, and she went back to Pakistan because she said she couldn't live in a country where they allow people like social workers to have reign over your children. Apparently, they have something in Pakistan, but it's nowhere near the intrusiveness of CPS in our country. CPS in our country is very well funded and intrusive into all aspects of the family life, and I think that is becoming, a huge problem for our society. I mean, unlike Miss Miss G and Mr. Guay, and I don't know your political persuasion, Stacy, but I'm a fairly moderate guy. But one of the things that I'm finding more and more distasteful is the government's intrusiveness into the family life. I mean, I can understand wanting to keep children safe,
Mhm.
but we've gone way beyond that. We've gone
Yeah.
way beyond that. And I think, if there is a problem, it should be addressed. But most of the cases I see, I mean, a lot of them I wouldn't even define as a problem. And the argument people give me all the time, well, something could happen if we don't step in. Yeah, I guess something could happen, but I could win the lottery tonight. That could happen.
1 out of 1 million.
No, it's like 1 out of 50 million or something
Oh,
crazy like
really?
that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Vince,
But
that's
there's
even
still
true.
worse.
one. There's still
Vince,
one.
But
do
by
you
the way, if I do win the lottery, I'm not sure that I will be on the show every day.
Vince, do you know the statistics? There's a report by the U.S. Department of State. It was put out in June of 2019, and it was a report on human trafficking throughout the world. So it wasn't just the United States; it was India and so forth. But this report identified that in the United States, the most often way that children are sex trafficked in the United States is through our foster care system.
You know,
Yeah, but did you hear about the? But did you also hear about the United Kingdom? About the satanic cult CPS. Did you hear about all the girls that were saved? That were that did the what do you call it? A detective that was involved in the case said that the kids all said the same thing. The social
I remember
workers
this.
are part of the satanic cult. I was attacked on that show too. Somebody wrote like, "Oh, you lost all credibility," blah blah. I'm like, bitch, read the damn, watch, like research, watch, hear, listen. But it must be a social worker because literally he was saying on his segment that the kids were saying what social workers take them to these satanic cults, right? To suck their
you know,
blood. Do you remember?
you know, many years ago, maybe 20 years ago, I was doing a case in Los Angeles County, and maybe longer than 20 years ago, because at the time I was a court-appointed attorney. And there was a case where a social worker was accused of molesting kids that he either detained or would go to the house and pick up allegedly and go to the house and pick up kids, to talk to them.
Hmm.
And I wasn't involved in the case, but I knew someone who represented one of the kids, another attorney in the courtroom. And it was his opinion, because he wasn't there, but it was his opinion after speaking with his client that this did happen. It's like one of those things where, um, where the children in Catholic schools or the altar boys are allegedly abused by priests. And, I grew up in the Catholic Church and I had always heard about that or rumors or rumblings, but, I didn't experience that or know anybody who experienced that I knew of. But then I find out decades later, oh my God, it was happening on a large scale, all over not only all over the country, all over the world.
Yep, the devil goes to church too, everyone. Don't
So,
be deceived.
I don't, I, I don't discount a lot of things that I hear. I mean, sometimes I'm critical of them, just from an analytical point of view, but I you know, strange stuff happens, things that you don't expect. And the more and more I do this, the more and more I see, very odd things happening. And a lot of the people that I talk to, especially on these shows, and you guys who are hosts and co-hosts of shows, I think you guys do this because these kinds of things happen to you, and you want to put the word out and let people know. A person that goes through the CPS system and doesn't have a problem, gets their child back right away, and doesn't have any problem with the social worker, they're probably not going to be on the show or be a host of the show, right? Because
Use to generate money, right? Yep.
because they didn't really suffer the pain that the three of you have suffered. I know all three of your stories, not in detail, I'm sure, but the things that have happened to you, in my opinion, were unfair and unwarranted. And it seems like, there's nothing that you can do. But this is a way that you choose to fight back. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm sure other people are grateful for that. You have your hand up, Miss G?
Yeah. We had an attorney that was on the show with me and Davis before. She left. She doesn't do juvenile anymore. She kind of like she was done. Like she's now a different law. She practiced different. Um, but anyways, one of her client I knew very well, and I actually referred him to her. And she's like she was on the call just like Davis does when he's on the call when the social worker is at the house, you know what I mean, like trying to assist the house to make sure blah blah blah. But he called us right away, like he called me right away, and I got him involved immediately. So the social worker, well, Jennifer was on the phone at the time, the social worker was like didn't kind of did hesitant, she was hesitant, right, because she was on speaker, the attorney was on speaker. Afterwards, the child was not removed from the father's home and the mother's home. But guess what happened? They retaliated afterwards. After. And Davis then got involved. Davis got involved because I told him, I know these people, please. That was like a year and a half ago. I told him, please help them. And he did. Once he got involved, they flee away. They kind of went away, right? But again, they came back. So my friend and his wife, the first thing they did, they left the country. They left the country because they were harassing them. You understand what I'm saying to you? People now are leaving the country. And he's not the only one. There's many people leaving the countries now, United States. I'm not going to tell you where they go, but you know what I mean. They go somewhere where there's no CPS at all, but they will retaliate. But if you guys don't stand up and show boldness, they're not going to flee. They're going to stay. They're going to come back. Am I right,
What do you,
Vincent? Or they have to have a private attorney like for the rest of their lives? I have a feeling like they have to have a private attorney for the rest of their lives.
today I got a call from a woman who I apparently spoke to 8 months ago. And she decided not to hire me 8 months ago. And a lot of things went bad for her. She called me today, and she had my cell number. She called me and she refreshed my recollection about her call, and she says, I don't care what it takes. We need you up here. It's in Northern California with me on June such and such date. And I said, well, why? She said, because. She said, I thought these people were going to be fair and reasonable. She said, I really believe that. And she said, when I hear your shows sometimes and the people on your shows, Miss G, they're so what was the word? Alarmistic, you know, They're so like over the top. I never thought that it was going to be like that.
Mhm.
And she said, and it was. And she said, I was shocked for the first part of my case. I was just shocked for the first few months. She said, I would come home and sit in my, at my kitchen table and
Yeah.
just wonder, what was it her or was it them?
Mhm.
But she said, they have the law on their side and they have the sheriffs on their side, and the sheriffs, their job is to enforce whatever the judge says. So, but
Well,
it is,
they don't
I'm
enforce whatever the judge says.
I'm happy that everyone doesn't go through this, what you guys have been through. There are some cases that are they just sail through, but there are too many of the cases where the people experience what you guys have experienced.
But they
And
sail through because for example, if they hire you, Vincent, I've seen you in action too. So, I
yeah,
mean,
but
give me a break.
sometimes it's not me. It's just luck, or it would have happened anyway. I
There
think,
is no
but
luck.
not all the time. But it's happening to too many people, right?
You're
And
being humble, Vincent. That's not
I'm going to
true.
tell you something. In 1989, I'm going to tell you something. I don't think I've told this to very many people. In 1989, most CPS cases that I came across in the courthouse in downtown Los Angeles, people were black or brown. This was an experience just for the most part, for minorities. And then, it was like rap music. It crossed over. It crossed over, and they started capturing everyone into their net. And I honestly believe, we've talked about this before, that book, The Economic Analysis of the Law, it has to do with funding, with money, with federal funding. Because, there are people that I meet face to face, you know, I, and I've been around, I'm 65 this year. I've been around, and I can tell sometimes when a person is, way out there and going to hurt the kid, or the person, just got caught up in some BS. I don't know you, Stacy. I don't know you, Darren. I've gotten to know Miss G because she works with me, but I don't get the sense that any of you are a danger to your children. I just don't get it. Now, there are some people that I do get that sense from, but I don't get that sense from you. And sometimes when I meet people, you can tell right away. I can anyway. My sense as a 37-year lawyer, I can get that sense of this person is credible, this person is bullshitting me, this person is maybe exaggerating.
Sometimes.
You just have all you have all those feelings based upon all of the experience. And in my opinion, the people that come to me, the vast majority of them should not be involved with the CPS courts. That's just my belief, my personal belief. Now, do other people disagree with me? I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. But I don't see, a lot of people that I meet having to be involved in this system. And then what happens a lot of time. I'm going to be talking to a client later on tonight. What happens a lot of times? Something happens, something minor happens, or a kid lies about something. All of a sudden, it's the case of the century. It's the biggest child abuse that ever happened in this county. And then it just explodes. It explodes. And by the way, I have had at least one social worker, on a random civil rights case, admit to me on videotape that she lied to the judge.
Mhm. She got promoted though.
She got promoted because it's my theory that she protected her
The
supervisors
supervisor.
who were in my opinion, in on the cover up. She denied that they were. She said it was all her actions. Now, you would think that a person that admits under oath to lying would be fired.
Right.
You would think that. You would be wrong.
I
You
think
would be
a
wrong.
liar should be freaking persecuted.
You know what? The funny thing, I should try to pull out that videotape and do what Sean
I-
McMillan does. Sean publishes his videotape depots on Facebook or
I watched
on the
it.
social media.
I love
And
it.
They're
And-
hysterical too
I
because
know.
I did an interview. I did an interview the other day with a police officer.
He's so sarcastic. The positions. Okay.
what'd you say, Mr. Boy?
I said I did an interview the other day with a police officer, a local police officer around here, and she was the first female police officer in a district area around here, and then she moved on to another area close by because it was closer to her home. She quit because they were forcing her to lie about the reasons that they pull people over. This was the words right out of her mouth, and she quit the police department because she said, "There's no way we're not." She couldn't do it, herself. So basically, they say make up a reason when you stop someone. Just go ahead and do that. I mean, this came right out of her mouth. The reason that she quit, and I did that interview with her with her. So it's crazy. I mean, if it's that low on someone that's brand new into the police force, you know what I mean, with someone with no anything, no ins to the services or anything, like she's just brand new to this fiasco. Imagine what the corruption that goes on the deeper in you get with these people. I mean, she's literally been a police officer for a year, maybe less. That's police training and everything, and then she's quit this job because of this. So imagine, if she knows that much, how much do the rest of the people, like these supervisors in CPS, like they all must have calendars in their rooms that show, Margaret's up this week, 7 kids to Bob's 4, and who's going to jockey in the last 3, to even out. And I mean, I'm sure they must, right? I mean, the amount of people that they're just throwing into this thing.
But
I
be
have
careful
no
though.
way.
But Davis, real quick, be careful though, because sometimes people call you and contact you, and they're not really an ex-cop or an ex-social
No, this is a
worker.
friend though. This is a legit 100%. This is a friend of mine. So I
No,
will
I
vouch for
understand
this
that
one.
part.
No,
I
right.
get that, but I just had to say that because a lot of people get calls like that, and not necessarily. I think it's just to mislead you. You have to really get to know this person and know, like the social workers I tell you guys that I got to know. I had to look at their onboarding paperwork, with the department to make sure that they were legit. They were telling me real stories here. So be careful though, okay? Out there. Especially you, Stacey, since you're new on the show, just be careful because you're gonna get calls. Hey, Stacey, I used to be a social worker. But this is just to mislead you. Get it?
Okay, folks, we're a little past our showtime end. I want to thank all of you for joining me. By the way, before we leave, did any one of you have any questions or comments you wanted to say before we sign off this evening? Miss
I
Jean?
actually, yeah,
You-
you always look at me. Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, hold on before we sign off. Do you remember when you said that the um for relative placement, you said they would need to file a 388 petition, a motion for bonding study, and a relative placement motion. Oh, I'm sorry, for to place the child or the children with relative, right?
Yeah, 388 de facto presumed parent motion.
Okay, what about the motion for bonding study?
That's
How come?
specific. That's specifically for a termination of the parental rights.
So if they're going through a termination of parental rights, right, and then it's not too late for them, right? It doesn't
Correct.
necessarily mean it's too late.
Correct. Well, in California, they set the parental rights termination hearing 120 days out. So the minute you lose your family reunification services, you and your attorney should ask for a bonding study. And sometimes you can ask for it right at that hearing. You can make a motion for it, or you can make a motion, 30 days beforehand. But the sooner you do it, the better. All right.
Right.
Because the bond in California law, the bonding is one of the few things that will stop a termination case.
But
A lot of people call me up and say, well, my rights are going to be terminated in a month. We need to go back and fight the original allegations. They were false. Well, that's the wrong strategy,
that's
right?
crazy.
They should be focusing on something else.
But their court-appointed attorney doesn't do the bonding study. So can they hire an outside attorney during the phase of TPR? Meaning, if their TPR is next month or next week or 2 weeks from today, is it too late to hire a third-party attorney that is willing to take the case? Is there hope for these people? I just want them to hear this because a few just
Well,
texted me.
well, there's hope, but it's all, it's relative. You know, um, if you are a parent, let me give you an example because I've had this. You're a parent, and next week is your termination hearing. You and your attorney have filed no 388, no bonding study. And on top of all of that, you didn't do any of the plan that the judge ordered you to do. Is there hope? Maybe that much. Okay. So a lot of times you're not in the position to do what you need to do. That's why I tell people, call me early. Don't
True.
think that I have a magic wand that can stop something, 5 days away.
But what if they did do everything the judge recommended them to do, and the social worker did recommend it, or what have you, but they still deny it in the court paperwork, saying that the mother didn't do crap or the father didn't do any classes, or they have proof that they've done everything. What
You
I'm
you have
saying to you,
you have to file in California. You have to file 388. And by the way, I confused somebody today. Old timers call it a 388. The youngsters call it a JV 180.
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's the same thing. I think we went through this before when I was like,
Yeah.
why are people telling me JV 180? You said it's the
Right.
same thing.
Right. Same exact.
Yeah.
Miss Stacy, did you have any questions for me before we sign off? How are you at?
Unmute yourself, honey. There you go.
I'm sorry. I was just thanking you. I'm good for questions.
Okay, and Mr. Darren, any final questions or comments?
Prayer show after this, Stacy. We should, yeah.
So I would suggest that everybody look into this. I just I emailed it to you there, Mr. Davis, but it's a population-based examination of suicide and child protection system involvement. It's from the Journal of Adolescent Health, 2021 1-5. Wow. All I got to say. I think that this is something that has definitely been overlooked and definitely deserves a little bit more eye time, because these statistics are it's kind of worse than what I had said. I mean, these statistics say one in 3 children will be the victim of abuse and neglect, then have some sort of related suicide action to it. It's pretty bad. This is they're saying that there's not enough time yet. They need much more research. There's only been 3 studies like this done.
Hey, Davis, I have to do my show, my prayer show. I have to go now.
Bye, Felicia. Wait, hold on. Darren, I want you to finish the thought.
It's 8:08, by the way.
Yeah, so I mean, just the stats they're crazy, and honestly, it doesn't affect the parents. It's more the children's rates that they're talking.
That's interesting. That's interesting. It's very interesting. Let's talk about that tomorrow on our show at 7 p.m. because I want to explore that, because I think that a lot of us assume this is all peachy clean, everybody's going to be
Right.
all right. And
Yeah.
I don't see that. In 37 years of doing that, that's not what I see.
Right.
I have another suggestion too, because I'm a physician assistant myself. Not just increased rates of suicide, but the RAIN study shows that children subjected to sexual abuse have 27 times higher rates of opiate or polysubstance abuse disorder. So when you see that CPS is placing kids with abusers instead of the safe parent or safe relative, I think you're going to see communities having higher rates of opiate addiction because of their failures and they're not even failures, but they're outright willful placing kids with abusers.
Interesting.
Yep.
All right, folks, we do have to go. We're way past our time. We'll see everybody tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I want to thank Mr. Darren, Miss G, and our special guest tonight, Miss Stacy. All right, so I'll see all of you tomorrow night, and we'll pick up on that discussion about the suicide. I'm very interested in that. Okay?
Um,
What?
keep in mind, remember when I spoke about the couple of clients we had that committed suicide? Well, they were potential clients rather.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Casey, text, please. Thanks.
Good night, all. Oh, and stay tuned for Miss G's prayer show.